Hello, welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. I am here today with my guest and my friend, Rayden. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rayden Sorock. I live in Wilkinsburg, and we're currently in my office at Grow Pittsburgh, where I will be rounding out my time just after a couple more weeks.
I can't believe you're leaving.
I know. I've been rounding up, and it's been basically 12 years. But
wow.
Very close to 12 years.
Did you start in the winter?
I started, February 1st, 2012, and did not think I would be here this long when I started.
So what brought you to Grow Pittsburgh?
I had kind of an interesting combination of job experience when I was looking for something at the time, and met my predecessor, Marisa, through a friend. And she was mentioning, we're looking to hire someone. And at the time, I had just come off of, I'd done a full season as the first intern at Blackberry Meadows Farm. So I had gotten a direct farming experience and on an 85-acre organic CSA farm with animals. And I had also worked at the Waldorf School and Construction Junction. So kind of an interesting combination of teaching and construction or deconstruction. And I'd also done a fellowship with an organization that doesn't exist anymore called the Initiative for Transgender Leadership, where I worked with basically a lot of coalition building and community organizing around LGBT issues in the city, primarily around workplace issues. And so that combination of like farming, community organizing, and labor and teaching was actually a perfect just conglomeration of different skills to be applying for this job. And when I first applied, it was the like community garden coordinator on the ground, part-time, temporary, seasonal, $12 an hour. It's really a different scene from how it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really grown. No pun intended. That's totally punny. My brain puns.
Yeah. No, well, we in 2017 we had 7 babies born to staff members within a year, and we were really making all the puns then.
I bet.
Yeah.
Little sprouts.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
So wow, that combination of Waldorf and Construction Junction, and then Blackberry Meadows, and and I'm guessing that was probably about 15, 20 years ago?
Blackberry Meadows would have been 2009. So
2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
15.
So, but I know the evolution of Blackberry Meadows. Mm-hmm. And it's been pretty intense, and I'm really looking forward to interviewing with Greg and Jen.
Yeah, you
I
totally
asked them,
should.
but they're, this is a busy season for them
so
with markets and stuff.
Yeah, catch Jen in January. Yeah, I think what was so great also about working there was that I think at the time Greg was like the Western regional director of PASA, and so like that's how I met like Mindy and got the job at Garden Dreams. That's how I got the job at Construction Junction. And I also met a volunteer at Blackberry Meadows who worked at the Waldorf School, and that's how I got connected with that opportunity. And just so much, like, they were so connected and so committed to like having a farm that wasn't just like in isolation, but connected with a lot of different community. And the experience and training that they trained at Kretschmann's farm, that just connected with them with so many people. So I really credit them a lot to the connections that I made after that. Yeah, it's a big deal.
So what do you enjoy most about growing food?
Growing food, yeah.
Is that how you came into this, growing food?
Yeah, growing food and helping people on vacant properties basically like make their dreams come true around what they wanted to see in the space. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, I think, I was coming off of working at a farm and thinking a lot about community food gardens as like very food focused, which they are, especially in as a distinction from like flower gardens. But I think that like a lot of people who join community gardens, they think that it's going to be all about the food, but then they kind of realize that it's actually all about the people. And that was a quick realization, I think, pretty early on in the work. And I think that that's really kind of the best part. I mean, it's like, otherwise because I like growing food like by myself in my backyard where I don't have to make decisions or like, I have to make decisions that are hard enough already kind of with myself and my family. But then to think about making decisions with like other people in the neighborhood or whatever, like it's a whole nother level that has a lot of value to it, but it's just a really different thing to choose to grow in community with other people. But I think that that's really the valuable part of it, is because you get to learn from them and teach them, and if your kids play together and get to know what's going on in the neighborhood and share recipes and all that kind of fun stuff. So you can grow a tomato, but it's really just like all the things around that tomato that are really what's happening in some ways, and tomato growing being kind of a catalyst for the other conversations that are happening in the space, I guess. And so that part has been really cool, and since that's been really the focus, what I really enjoy a lot about the work, and then as I've been able to, gain experience and responsibility, and in my role here at Grow Pittsburgh, and now being the director of this department, really trying to keep the focus on that, and that's a good example of kind of how we've taken the programming from when I started that was like really nearly 100% focused on starting new gardens with some, we had the workshop series, we started the seed swap. Around that time, there was like trying to make community gardener connections, definitely. But the programming has really shifted a lot to being more about the network and the curriculum and how do we build successful groups of people that will then have successful gardens.
Making sure you have all the right characters.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
you got to have the people that like knows everybody in the neighborhood, but like maybe has no idea about how to grow, but like knows the person that knows how to grow. And that person maybe doesn't really like to talk to that many people and likes to just do their thing. But if they're connected with the one who knows everybody, like that's how to make it happen. But I feel like a lot of people think that they got to like kind of do it all, but you don't have to do it all. That's why you're doing it in a group, so you can have your skills and they can have their skills.
I think one of the most difficult things about sharing space with other people is when they're not like maintaining their weeds, or when they have a different view of what weeds are than you do, and then they go to seed and they spread to other people's beds, and so you need someone who's really going to be strict about the guidelines and enforce them. Strict about
guidelines, like I think it's about having clear expectations when you join, and that's on the garden group to set clear expectations and have like an orientation process for new people coming in. And it's on the gardener to be like, actually, like I'm doing it this way because XYZ, or there just needs to be systems in place to support people that are just new to growing and don't really know any better, or they have a million things going on in their life and maybe they're a little bit in over their head. So how can you structure the garden so that it's like, hey, your first year you need to be in a plot with a buddy or something like that.
The buddy system, never a bad idea.
Yeah, buddy system, or hey, if we notice these things happening on your plot, we'll like give you a call first and check in, like, are you okay? Rather than just being like, this person isn't doing it, how do we clamp it down kind of thing. But I understand a lot of the stress around the management of the gardens is around like just it being a lot of work and it being hard, and not feeling like there's not enough help, and that I think that drives a lot of the anxiety and the some of the behavior that like can be a little bit off-putting. But like I get it. It's just hard. It's hard work. And I think when you're all like, yay, let's start a garden, it's like we don't really think about the hard work that much, So I'd always encourage folks to just start small. You can always build more from there,
That was the whole purpose of the application for the Adopt-A-Lot, is to have people think through all these things, because they don't think about them. So
and it's really, it's really helpful to have other folks who have had that experience to talk through this stuff with. And that's like the number 2 thing is always just like, start small, and also like go see what it's like at other spaces. Like, go get inspired by other spaces, go get mentorship from other community garden leaders, join the garden and work with them for a season or two, so you really like get to see how they operate and think about what you might change if you were going to start your own project, or then realize like, hey, I can do what I want to do with this group, and then you have a greater capacity as a whole as well. You're not competing for volunteers or residents or whatever. Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of this work, the work that you've done, and other areas of your life that
mm-hmm.
you've mentioned have been about creating community,
mm-hmm.
but also about food and food growing, because
yeah.
you had the whole experience working on a farm. So,
yeah.
But community building and food, like they go hand in hand. So
it really was a good match.
Yeah. How did that come from? Can you think to like past, like, I don't know, where did you grow up? Let's start there.
I was born in New Jersey. I lived there until I was about 6, and then we moved to Massachusetts, and I lived in suburban Boston area for about 13 years. And growing up Jewish, and so like that also is like, food is a big part of that, and the food culture is a big part of that, and kind of realizing like, oh, like I'm part of this community, therefore like this is the food that we eat, that kind of experience. And going to grandma's house and being fed to certain dishes, and how that really like locks into your brain very early on. And so I think that the food community thing is definitely tied into that piece of it, and just like kind of Jewish food and culture. I think that's definitely one of the main pieces of it. But I think also, to a certain extent, also just realizing with a lot of community organizing stuff that if people's like basic needs aren't met, then the work can't really happen, or that the stress and the rat race just kind of consumes people. And so just being able to like roll up somewhere and someone feeds you is so valuable and really takes a lot of the pressure off. And so I think I had like a pretty, I don't know, destabilized youth situation. Had a lot of not a lot of structure or systems that really kind of worked for me. I ended up going to like a private boarding school for 3 years of high school, and was kind of at risk of like dropping out, like not dropping out, but definitely like doing poorly in school. Wait, I guess.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Private boarding school, is that like you were sent away to school because you were bad?
No, well.
Oh, okay. That would totally
either my mom did a really good job of convincing me that it was my idea.
Ooh.
Or it was basically like, oh, well, like, it's clear that you aren't getting, like, the attention that you need here, because you could easily just, like, coast along getting, like, C's and D's and no one would really notice kind of thing. But, like, in a school where there's only 400 students, like, they will notice immediately and call you out on it. And also just being in a place that was, like, very structured in a way of just, like, I had a place to, stay, and breakfast was at a certain time, and, like, just very organized, and a really good education. And one of the things that was like the consistent thing for me a lot of the time was playing ice hockey in the winter time. I did that from like 5th through 12th grade. So between that and then getting some more, that and going to concerts was pretty consistent for me, which is why I lost a lot of my hearing. But in that high school boarding school experience, just getting access to all of those resources was just really amazing. I went to good public schools, and a little bit. I had a lot of struggle with being like, not kind of like fitting in with the like super wealthy boarding school kids, where it's like, they've gone to private school their whole lives, and like I was just kind of coming in 10th grade, and they've also like been together for a really long time. And so like the kids that came in 10th grade, not having been part of the same group, we kind of formed our own crew a little bit. But I think that I don't know, that experience kind of just made me realize, like, wow, like, what would be possible if, like, every student had this level of resource? And that was kind of a awakening. And then I, like, was very firmly of the decision that I did not want to go to another, like, small private prep school like college, which a lot of my peers went to, which is, like, fine. A lot of them are great. But I was really excited to go to State University of New York School of Purchase College, be with all the, like, weirdo art kids. And that was a really good experience to then go to, like, a state school where it's just like, yeah, we're consistently called the ugliest campus and, like, did not have the level of wealth and endowment and all this stuff that, like, I had in high school. And what was the value of all of that? You know, there's a lot of value in that experience of kind of, like, making something with less, you know?
Did you did the school kind of embrace
yeah.
that grunge?
Oh, absolutely.
Persona?
Yeah. Very much like, it was all this, like, super ugly brick. Yeah. Like, it was, like, not even, like, a pretty red brick, but just kind of this, like washed out kind of, like, brownish yellow brick that was literally, like, all the entire, like, mall area was all like, just square tiles, like, and all the buildings were, like, kind of squat brick, the same color brick, just everything was brick. So we kind of embraced that of, like, you know, you got to do something to kind of stand out among this drab kind of environment. There's a lot of art, like chalk art all over the brick stuff, you know, and people removing certain brick tiles in different patterns and just, like, doing weird stuff with that. And I really appreciated that. And being so close to New York City, I got to be, like, excited about cuisine from a lot of different cultures in a way that, like, we'd had, like, Indian food on a kind of a regular basis, like, near Boston, and sushi a couple of times. But, like, New York City was really where I was like, oh my God, I love food. And I love going to restaurants and trying new foods. And that was, so I kind of grew up in, like, a household where we, like, had a lot of, like, canned and boxed things and wasn't really, like, wasn't very adventurous eater. But then, like, that experience in New York really, that helped a lot. So I think it was, like, love of food, community building. Before I moved to Pittsburgh, I also, like, worked on a small educational farm that had, like, a corn maze and animals and a pumpkin patch and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I could do this.
Tourism.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. Very low stakes.
Did you go to college for art?
No, actually. I was thinking about it. I kind of wanted to go for design tech, like theater design. But because that was one of my favorite things I did in high school. But I decided I didn't want to be kind of stuck in one track. So I went for a literature program and was able to do a lot of different things. And so really, like, it was literature and gender studies and a lot of, like, theory and composition analysis, like that kind of stuff. And so I really didn't, like, I hadn't taken a math or science class, like, at all in college, which is why now I've been taking just a class a semester at CCAC in math and science, just to, if I want to do something down the line that's more hands-on science, which I'd kind of like to do. I've just been like, okay, I'll chip away at this a little bit, because, like, most programs are like, you need XYZ amount of credits of biology and chemistry and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I didn't do great in chemistry or biology in high school. So I was like, I better try this out and make sure I like it. And I do like it. It's been great, actually.
Yeah, that would be a no for me.
Yeah.
I mean, in grad school, I think we had to do a science.
Oh.
And I ended up doing a soil class.
Huh.
Sherry Edenborn. She taught at Chatham. She retired.
Oh, cool.
But she was big into worms and vermicompost.
Wow, a gardener named Edenborn. That is,
Yep.
I love that. There's a very unusual vocabulary word, I think, called, like, an aptonym, which is, like, you know, when someone has a last name that's, like, related to the field of work that they have, that they're in or whatever. There's a lot of really good ones out there, but that's a great one. That's a great one. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I guess growing up in a Jewish culture, your love of food could have gone in many directions. And it's interesting because you said you grew up with a lot of canned food, but now you're responsible for growing fresh food or, your community projects.
Yeah.
That's ideally the goal of these community projects, in addition to growing community and creating community.
Yeah.
But you could have also gone in the direction of cooking, of being a chef. Did you ever think about that?
My party would really like me to go to culinary school. They were just like, I think you're thinking about all these different programs, but like, have you thought about culinary school? That you could just cook me a lot of delicious things all the time. I'm like, I get it.
Ulterior motive.
Yeah, I know. I would
love that too. And honestly, my husband has stepped up and started like doing all the during the pandemic, and especially when I broke my foot, he's been doing all the cooking to the point where I'm like, get out of my fucking kitchen. It's not my kitchen. It's our kitchen, and it has the gender roles in our house are not traditional.
That's fun.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I really do I like baking more. That's kind of a little bit more my baking and breakfast are kind of my wheelhouse with cooking. Especially when I lived by myself, I reverted to I would eat a grilled cheese sandwich every day. Or go out to eat. Very I don't know, lowest common denominator, whatever is available, I will eat, whether it's some amazing gourmet cuisine or trying new food things to being what is the easiest possible food. I would just eat an entire bag of chips and an entire jar of salsa for dinner, just crunch on that. So
cereal was always a good one.
Yeah, cereal, yeah. And so I think, I learned in I had a home ec class in middle school where we had to learn how to use recipes and that kind of stuff. And that really helped me be interested. I think before that I always helped my grandmother make challah, or I always there were a couple, or make pancakes or something like that. But it wasn't until that class really that I was just I could make all these other things. So I started to learn how to make baked macaroni and cheese and tomato sauce from scratch and French toast, basics, but enough to be you're a teenager and you need to eat something, and that's great, Grilled cheese sandwiches are still kind of the top choice.
What's not to love?
Even as a lactose intolerant person. Still. Grilled cheese sandwiches. Could be something not to love, you can make them fancy with sliced pickles or hummus on it too, or Havarti cheese or sprouts. I don't know. There's so many things.
My husband puts thin piece of prosciutto, if you're into and a little marmalade.
Whoa, interesting. Okay.
Sometimes he'll put a little pesto. Just the hint of party.
That sounds really great.
Oh yeah. He is very good. He knew that one of the things that I loved the most about working downtown was going out to lunch. Yeah. And that was one thing that I definitely budgeted for, was to eat lunch out, because it's great to take the time, and also the great restaurants. Yeah. And so when COVID hit and we were all at home, he's like, well, I know you missed this. I'm going to make you some fun lunches. And so he has.
It's so great.
I know. I'm such a lucky girl. I need to stop talking about that. It's not about me. It's about you and your food evolution.
It's all good. Yeah. Now, I have a kid who's almost 6. And so now I'm responsible for her. I'm responsible for another being's relationship to food, and we all inherit the crappy stuff that comes along with food relationships from family member. I came from a family of a lot of people that don't really kind of hate to cook, or would my grandfather notoriously loved hospital food, literally just calories, bring it in, anything. But also, we'd go out for, steak and lobster, and he would just drop,
No, hold, please.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did your grandfather, put himself in the hospital on purpose to get hospital food? How did that just, get discovered? Is that just a phrase? I haven't heard that phrase.
No, I was just... He was in the military and would, MRE... just, literally anything. Any food. He was, a big guy, and I think he was just, always hungry, but didn't really ever cook for himself. And my grandmother, like, hated to cook, but, you know, still needed to make sure that people were, like, fed. So she would kind of do the minimal kind of food situation. So we'd, like, travel occasionally to my other grandma's house in Illinois, and that house was really all about cooking. But we didn't really, like, spend a lot of time there. But I remember feeling like, oh, like, this is like a kitchen where we're always hanging out in here. There's always something cooking. There's always something to make. They had I thought it was like, they had a big family. They have a big family, but they were like the first family that I remember going to that had like an extra refrigerator in their garage. And I was like, oh my God, like this is all about the food here, you know? So I think I was always intrigued about like how other families were doing the thing. And I think it kind of primed me for being really curious about that. But yeah, there's a lot of like crap around like, you know, judgment or like guilt around food and stuff like that is just like hard to slough off, you know? But I feel like I've done a pretty good job. But my pitfall is a little bit like, will revert back to like only easy packaged foods, like very easily. But I think that's like, I talk to a lot of people who live by themselves that are just like, it's hard to like make something that's not just utilitarian because it's just for me, right? And so it really makes a big difference if like someone comes over or we share a meal together, we go out or something like that. And then it's like, oh, now it's a thing. So now we're like we can kind of step our game up in terms of the food making. And I mean, what you're describing too about like, oh, you're like your husband's making food for you. And there's like another level of like care and attention and like relationship that is part of that rather than like, I just got to get the calories in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The intentional, you know, enjoyment of food, I think, is the thing.
Yeah.
There are people in my life as well who just don't understand my love of food, and they're just like, I just want to, and then they'll go out and their treat day for themselves is to go out and have like McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Sometimes,
I'm going for ramen.
Which sometimes that can be also enjoyable. Yeah.
I mean, it depends.
I always made sure that like no one ever saw me driving the Grow Pittsburgh truck and going to go like get McDonald's. I was like, I gotta be in my car if I'm gonna go do that and stop by somewhere.
There's sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit.
I do love a McDonald's fry. I mean, not, you know, I guess it's just like, I try not to feel like there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't make sense to support companies like that are making food in like these terrible energy, like environmentally depleting, animal exploitive, people exploitive ways. So I totally get that. And it's also like, I can't like live so rigidly that I am like driven away from getting takeout food every now and then. You know what I mean? Like fast food. It's just like, I think that was like that has been also like a big part of it. I think that's a big part of this like food growing kind of thing, is that it's just like, we want to meet people where they're at and help them make like the next best choice or like the next level up. And people are starting from all over the place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's like a lot of shame around like, oh, I'm eating this and it's like healthier, whatever, than this other thing. But I think also like having a kid and just being like exhausted all the time, like I get it so much more now than I ever got. Like even my own upbringing of being like, oh, you have 2 kids and parents are working, like tuna helper, like let's do it, you know, like easy as possible. So I get it.
And you know. I don't mean to shame and
oh,
you know,
no,
McDonald's
no.
was just, you know, one example of like, I feel
like
it's kind of a
there,
bland food. Yeah. And I would choose something a little more interesting and exciting, like ramen or Szechuan chicken.
And I think a big part of that is being introduced to different kinds of foods when you're younger, so that it doesn't seem as like, you know, it doesn't seem as scary, but also it doesn't seem it has the potential to develop into a comfort food. Mm-hmm. You know, like my kid loves lentil soup and will eat many bowls of lentil soup, and also is like very, you know, focused on like, I need a sweet treat right now, like give me, you know. But I'm like, oh, great, success. I've spent a lot of time recently with a lot of other kids that are like very limited in what they will eat. And that is a whole nother ballgame that I feel very blessed to not have that experience. No matter what challenges we're having on a day-to-day, like, it is not that bad. And so I definitely I feel for the parents that are struggling with kids who literally do not want to eat anything but, like, butter noodles of a particular shape, you know?
Yep. No, I mean, this podcast is about, exploring people's food evolution and how they got to where they are today. And I've had a couple people talk about them being picky as a kid. And then one person pointed out to me that it's a way that kids can control. That's one of the only things they can control, because they're told what to wear, they're told when to sleep, they're told when to wake up. Like, that's one of the only things they can control. And so I'm sure there's some psychology around that and figuring that out. But obviously your kid doesn't feel like there's any control. I'm just teasing. Obviously your kid feels very, very much included.
She's more in the kind of thing, like, where I say I like something, she's like, oh, I don't like that.
There you go.
Even if, like, she does like it.
Good.
You know?
I mean, independent thinker, trying to,
But yeah, so I get it.
have her own opinions. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So I think going through life, like, I would not have thought I would have ended up in a role like this or having this kind of impact. But when I look back, I can see various things along the way that definitely primed me for this kind of a role that is pretty unique in terms of its, like, food growing meshed with community growing kind of stuff, which is over the years I've seen, like, I think that we weren't really sure kind of how to find people who wanted to do this kind of work. And so we end up, like, when we were looking through all the applicants who had been applying to various positions on our team, like, coming from a lot of different directions and kind of having a hard time being like, okay, well, we need someone who's, like, kind of a community organizer, but someone who also, like, has had direct food growing experience, but also someone who's kind of scrappy DIY ethic, but also someone who's, like, a comfortable speaking in front of groups and being kind of an educator and has some teaching experience. Like, it's just a lot of different things that are really hard to get all together in the same person. So I was thinking about, how we have built a team that comes from a lot of different backgrounds in order to cover a lot of the, education experience that people need to have, combined with the growing experience, combined with the community building and organizing experience. And I think that now I'm seeing a lot more people come through that have a combination of that experience than we used to see years ago, which is cool. And that's also just kind of a really fun part about the work is building that team and kind of recognizing what different skills and backgrounds people are going to bring to the table, so that it doesn't have to be each person has to be well-rounded in this way, but it has to be the whole team has to be well-rounded in that way to have a wide range of experience and skill that they're bringing. But I think that that's just, as I'm reflecting a lot on the time that I've been here, is that, it is really about the people that work here and the people that I work with and the people that I've mentored and have mentored me over the years. That's really one of the most fun things about working here, for sure. It's great people.
So do you think people have assembled those skills out of a necessity of creating their portfolio? I know, like, it seemed to me, 15 years ago that employers kept asking for X, Y, and Z skill plus ABC and LMN. And that it seemed like they were asking for unicorns everywhere, and it just wasn't possible.
Right.
And it sounds like, some of the skills you're talking about do overlap and intercept, but there are a lot of people that are really good at one thing or the other, and putting them together as a team. Anyway, do you think this is an evolution of the field?
There's a lot more opportunity. I think there's more opportunities to dabble a little bit in growing food. People talk about their own backyard growing experiences, or growing up on a farm, or getting involved in a community garden, or doing like woofing for a season or something like that, and having an experience of being more of an intern on a farm space. You could work at a farmer's market. There's just a lot of different ways, or the food bank, so many different ways to get involved in food systems and food growing. And I think people seeing that as like a viable option. And also, kind of interestingly, there's a lot of overlap in people who are interested in food stuff and the arts. And I think that there's a lot of this kind of scrappiness around making art, and how you're not just making art in a vacuum, you're making art in community, and also thinking a lot about how artists often have fewer resources than other professional people.
They're scrappy.
And you gotta make do with what you got. And also maybe you're more inclined to be like, oh, maybe one of the ways I can do that is by finding other creative ways to get delicious food. And maybe that's growing food myself, or being connected there.
But so, you're talking about, you want people who can communicate well, mm-hmm. people who are not afraid to speak in front of crowds, mm-hmm. and those two people could be different personalities. Right. People who are aware of the broader aspect of food insecurity, mm-hmm. and the larger problem there, and sympathetic and empathetic to that, which is a whole other type of personality. Mm-hmm. And then people that aren't afraid of bugs and to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
Those are four pretty distinct areas of, I could see four different separate humans having each of those characteristics. And then, the arts is a whole other thing. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Is it something about maybe the state of the world at this point that is making people sort of investigate all of those things at the same time, then speak out about it? Has that empowered people?
I mean, I think a couple of things is that I think a lot of people are really hungry for genuine connection with other people that is face-to-face and hands-on. And I think that we are all trying to grapple in various ways with the destruction of this planet, and trying to figure out kind of what our role is in that, and how do we connect as much as possible with life and growing and nature while we can. Not to bring it way down, but I think about this a lot. It's like, I think that we were talked about before about kind of meeting people where they're at, and having a lot of different avenues for people to get involved and engaged around food. And sometimes that's going to be like a job training, like specific job training thing. I want to be able to do this work or landscaping work as a way to employment, or I want to learn all I can about trees, and I'm really interested in that aspect of it, or I want to learn about the cooking aspect of it, or I want to learn about the food systems and food distribution aspect of it. Like, there's a lot of different ways for people to get involved, but I think a lot of it is about how can we connect as much as possible with this this living world that we're also very disconnected from, and are having a huge impact on all the time, and vice versa. It's having a huge impact on us. Tell a kind of a fun story about so I mentioned the jackhammering on my street right now because of all the gas lines being replaced. 9 Mile Run stream that used to flow on land was culverted and buried under the street about 100 years ago, and it goes right past my property. And when they were digging for these gas lines, they basically hit the culvert, and they were like, "This is unusual. What is this doing here?" And didn't have it wasn't on the map. And so I was thinking about I don't know what
and this is 9 Mile Run, right? It is on the map, but it wasn't on the gas company's map.
It was, PA1 call didn't have it. I mean, its infrastructure is really old, and it has a major impact. Now they have to reroute the whole gas line on the street, and it's I
guess it was man-made.
Oh, yes.
So it shouldn't have been man-made on the utilities.
Yeah. But it's just, we really kind of take water flow for granted, and it's always flowing, and, talking about the sinkholes that are, the flooding, there's the pollution in the water, there's just so many ways that what we've done to these systems are then coming back to bite us too. There's no way to get away from it. So I think about that a lot, and definitely it's been really it's a really special thing to have found out about this thing, like kind of running right on the property line. It's pretty cool. We were digging for fence posts in the yard, which is how we found this thing. And our friend of ours, who is very, he's kind of like, oh, there's something in the way. I'm just going to like dig right through this kind of thing. Like really, like I need to get to a certain depth of, and he's kind of breaking through whatever. And then maybe like 2 brick-sized pieces dropped into this pit. And he was just like, is that what's going on? And we were all kind of peering down in there and realized that's the culverted stream. That's where 9 Mile Run used to flow on land and now is like buried in the stream. And then every time there's rainwater overflow and sewer overflow, unfortunately, it goes through this tunnel. So it was, we could hear the stream, we could smell the stream, we can kind of see it down there with a flashlight, but we didn't want to lose out on that portal opening. So when we put the fence post in, we
you have a portal.
Yeah.
Does anyone knows you have a portal in your
yes.
backyard?
Oh, yeah. It's very. I talk about it. I actually really love it. But when we concreted in the fence post, we put a pipe down in the into the culvert, so you can still hear the water flow down there, which is really cool.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
so you
really
have
cool.
a pipe that you can access the sound.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So
portal to another century.
Yeah, I told that story as part of like a storytelling event for Upstream a couple of years ago, and I kind of got the idea. So again, this kind of like arts connection. So Ginger Brooks Takahashi is an artist, local artist here, who had through Office of Public Art had worked with Upstream around an art piece around water. And the installation was basically to create these fabricated manhole covers that you could see through to get access basically to and understand how the infrastructure that we put in there has basically removed the visible interaction that we used to have with this stream. And so after kind of seeing that work, and I was like, oh, I have kind of my own portal and way to see into this. It was inspired by art that then helps people connect with the natural world stuff. So maybe that's where a lot of the overlap comes into play. But it's been, I would love to continue working with artists around this work, because I think there's just so many great ways to do that. Thinking of like Old Allegheny Garden on the north side and how there's so much art integrated into that space that really feels almost like a retreat or like a plaza or like there's just something extra kind of about it.
They've done a really nice job.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Like that you have a portal. I'm bummed that we didn't meet at your house. I could go out and see
I know,
here and smell the portal.
Yeah. I'll have to show you.
Next time, yeah.
Yes.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
I felt a lot more connected with animals than people as a child. And so I really wanted to be a veterinarian. And so I was kind of thinking about that for a long time. Like the Cornell Veterinary School, I think I visited once and was really interested in that. But I didn't really have concrete ideas about and I think that was a little bit of the lack of stability or kind of direction that I felt as a young person, was that I didn't really see a clear path or future for me. But I did know that I loved animals and loved reading, and writing was a big part of it, and music. And so just trying to find ways to connect with art in various ways. And also I think it was through the relationships, I guess I learned kind of what my direction would be through relationships with other people. I had relationships with people who went to the college that I went to and got to visit there first, could kind of see myself there, and was like, okay, yes, I could see there. Same with the private high school that I had. I had relationship with people before I started there. And then same with coming to Pittsburgh, relationship with people who came here, I visited, got to know, always kind of following that through relationships. And so I think that there's, I've become a lot more people focused, over the years, in a way that is just the relationships kind of precede any next step, I guess. And I guess that's a little bit of my practice with how community organizing works, is that it takes time and a lot of patience and energy and hard work in a lot of cases to build a lot of those relationships and networks. But then as they're built, they just keep building on top of each other because it's a ripple effect. The more folks you get to know and kind of what they do and what they're connected with, and the more connections you make with them too. So that's really been kind of my style of work and leadership here, is around, I mean, like, oh, this group we have to talk to because we might be able to partner with them on this other thing that I heard about because I read their newsletter. And I know this other person from, like, we used to work together 10 years ago and now they're doing this thing and now how can we connect there? So, but I didn't have a clear sense of that. And I think that was actually the work that I did with the, like, Initiative for Trans Leadership thing was really about, like, giving young trans people an opportunity to, like, have a professional work experience and get paid to do that, because I think a lot of us might feel kind of directionless. And so I think that was then plugging into, like, a whole nother big network of, like, all these nonprofits that work around, like, LGBT issues in the city, and getting to know kind of who's who, and getting to know all the drama and getting to know all the lovely things that everyone does.
There are humans involved.
There will be drama. So yeah, it was really a great experience to be like, okay, how do you actually go about learning a professional community and kind of finding your place in that? And so I think that really helped me then realize, like, oh, like, it really, if that's kind of the most important thing, it really could be any opportunity that I kind of jump into and then use those skills to make it what I kind of want it to be. And so I think then when this opportunity presented itself to start a job here, and I was like, oh, sure, like, I can do that. And then over time kind of realized, like, that it was building into more of a career because of the longevity, really, and the relationships being built too. And I've been really supported here in getting to try a lot of different things, and, you know, professional development wise, but also within the organization. And just, you know, I think that takes time and just building trust and responsibility. And I feel like, yeah, I'm excited to kind of pass the torch.
And what made you make the decision to leave? I mean, I'm the kind of person that if I am having a good time, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It actually gets pretty comfortable, whatever. So making a leap like that seems, it's not like you're stagnant or anything. You feel support. Like, yeah, what made you decide
I mean, I think part of it is, like, you know, when I came to this role, it was kind of serendipitous in a way, and I didn't really think of it as kind of like a long-term plan, and it became that. But it also kind of got me curious about what other things are out there now that I have so much more experience than I had then. Like, I was working in a coffee shop at the time. Like, I was just like, I didn't really know what was going to be the next steps. So I feel like now that I'm like, okay, I've done this for a solid 12 years. What else is out there, especially now that I built this really great network and can talk to people in a lot of different areas of work and kind of find out what I want to do next. I think that a couple of reasons. I mean, one is, like, I'm kind of an anxious person, so I'm always like, am I doing the right thing? What else could I be doing? You know, so there's, like, a little bit of that, but there a lot of it is like, okay, I feel ready to kind of see what else is out there for me. I mentioned maybe being interested in going back to school or doing something more hands-on for a while. It's also just a good place right now. Like, we were trying to apply to some private schools for my kid, and we didn't get in. So now we go to a free public school, which is great. And then it kind of opens up some opportunities of being like, okay, I don't have to also worry about that income that needs to happen to make school happen. And my partner's taking on a little bit more, and, you know, we have some cushion. So it's like, it feels like a good time in that way. And I've also, I've also just been through a lot. I mean, I think, you know, we've all been through a lot especially over the last couple of years, but it's just, I really, like, grew up in this, like, I started when I was 25 here, you know, like, I really grew up in this organization, and, you know, I have a family now and a house, and, like, I don't think I'm having a crisis, but I'm in like midlife, right?
Gotcha.
So it's a time to kind of take stock and assess a little bit, and like it's so rare to have an opportunity to be able to do that. Really, I mean, I don't think I've really had a chance to do that for about 15 years or so, right after college, to really just kind of not really have a plan and kind of see what happens, and there's definitely some concern about that, just, not having a job and not having that structure or those relationships or that just daily connection with people in the same way, that I'm like, oh, am I going to feel like really crummy about that? But I do have a lot of other things that I'm excited about working on. Like I'm on a couple of boards with Upstream and the Pittsburgh LGBTQ hockey team. So I'm planning to play a lot of hockey and volunteer. I like to do writing. It sounds like kind of...
You gonna work on your novel?
I'm working on a novel. It sounds weird to even say that because I'm like, oh, don't have too many expectations. You know what I mean? But yes, I'm working on writing a novel. I think that's what it's gonna be.
I'm sorry, I'm still kidding.
No, you're right. Exactly.
Humans are kind of predictable.
They are. No,
I'm excited though. Yeah. That's a great congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And you said it out loud in front of people.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's like, I've been having just like a regular weekly like meet up with some friends who are also kind of like need some accountability buddies to do some writing, and it's been really great. So, with all those things, there's definitely things that are going to keep me busy and interested, but I also hope like there's just like good time for reflection and stuff, because it's definitely it's hard to kind of slow down and take stock when life is coming at you fast, and
and when you're unhappy in a particular situation, it makes it even worse. So you're in a good place, and that's very helpful.
I feel like kind of I feel really confident about the team also. Like it never feels like the right time to leave. Like I feel like other times before I'm just kind of like, am I kind of curious about leaving or do something else? And I'm just kind of like, oh no, like ship feels a little unsteady, like better, and I think also like the past few years through COVID or whatever, like it definitely was like, I needed to be more steady in a situation and stick with something. I also felt a responsibility to like stick with something and be more, help make it more steady. But I feel like, we're in a good spot right now, and I'm really excited about passing the torch, both to the next person in my role, but also to also my team just feels really strong right now. So I feel like it's a good time in that regard to be like, okay, let's figure out what the next step is. And I'm not trying to like rush into the next 12-year work experience.
That's the great part of it is to have that. It's a privilege to have that time
absolutely.
and that space to be able to not panic. And usually it's financial, but to not panic about what you're doing next. I mean, my situation was kind of forced on me, but I also feel very fortunate that I have been able to just take a pause.
Yeah.
And, I'm not writing a novel, but I started a podcast.
Yeah,
I picked up a podcast. So I feel it's equivalent.
That's on an equivalent level.
Yeah. So it's been really a positive experience, except for having to deal with the anvil. I've been calling it an anvil that falls on my head every 10 to 15 days.
And then the bump that goes.
Yeah. I have to deal with and nurse back, and it's I'm becoming more and more resilient. So it's shorter time frames to recover from that.
Yeah.
And there's some really interesting things that have popped up because I've been able to have that pause.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good for you too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been thinking about,
I hope that is good for you.
Yeah, thank you. I've definitely been exploring what would it mean to go back to school and what kind of programs I'm interested in and who do I know who's maybe done those programs I could talk to about it. What other organizations that I'm already connected to that I could talk to people who work there about what they do, and is it just my imagination of what they do that sounds really fun, or is what is it like their actual day-to-day? So I hope to just have a lot of coffee with a lot of people and just talk about all that stuff. And then I'd like to I was mentioning before about when I was working at Blackberry Meadows and met Mindy Schwartz and then worked got that connection to work at Garden Dreams, and how fun that job was. And I was just thinking about that. Like, I did not have to make any decisions. I worked around like 20,000 beautiful plants. It was in a basement, but it was still lovely, and just got to like pot up plants all day and like get paid cash, and like got really strong because I'd have to lift these heavy trays up and down stairs or whatever. And then I'd like also just talk to some customers and like do some chit chat. Like, it was very low stakes and like lovely, and it would be nice to do something that was also kind of like that for a little while, just to like have something, you know, going on.
So if anyone's got a $12 to $15 an hour labor position, Rayden is available.
Yeah. But yeah, I know.
Super part-time, I'm guessing, like maybe 10 hours a week.
You know, like, I'd love to, I gotta like stay active. I think that, you know, going from a position where I was really like on the ground, working at the gardens like all day, every day, to working like sitting in my butt all day, pretty much. Like, I started running again. So like, that's been a really fun experience between like running and hockey. I'm trying to just like keep up with that. But
I was gonna say, it's almost hockey season
again.
Yeah,
well, for sure. Yeah, so we're got some fun things in the works there, and we got some travel coming up this fall, winter. So yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, Rayden, it has been a pleasure getting to know you, and it's been a pleasure working with you for all these years.
So many years.
You know, I feel like you just sort of like, you were around the same time I was around the whole scene, and then we just sort of faded together at some point. We're just like, we know each other. Like, I don't know how exactly, but
it's really like it is really cool to see how, you know, with our experiences and roles, like, kind of, I noticed that with some people here too as well, where I was just like, I'm working in my department and you're working in your department, we do our separate things, but then over time our roles change, and we have a broader, like, we're looking in a broader landscape, I guess, and then we kind of notice each other more, work together more, talk more, that kind of stuff. And it's really cool when that happens, and gets to happen over the course of many years. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of our programs have interacted, and, you know, like, have gotten better because of each other's programs, kind of creating opportunities and creating some pushback, and you know, getting a chance to like talk with you about all the fun challenges that this work brings. You know, it's been nice. Yeah, that's a little bit of the zone where I'm in right now, where I've got a couple weeks left, and I'm just like, my time is so limited. I have to focus on these very few things, and it's like, and I just have to leave the list of all the stuff that I like would have liked to do. Just leave it, and then trust that other people will take it on in various ways, and I won't be my responsibility. Yeah. I'll be responsible for other things, you know, and maybe other smarter minds than I will be able to figure out how to navigate these kinds of things, and, you know, but
that was one of the more devastating things about my situation is there was nothing I could do, and it was essentially like the house burned and everything was gone. Yeah. And I had to just deal with it. Yeah, that's still dealing with it. Still thinking about, like, what are we doing about stormwater, it's going to take a lot
catchment to be able to bounce back from something like that, for sure. And it feels like, I mean, just having been in a place for a really long time, and leaving and being like, what are all the things that I'm taking with me that I just don't even know that I'm taking with me? You know what I mean? And there's definitely like a sadness and loss in that. And it's like, I can bring those things with me to something else as like a experience, and the people that are continuing the work will be fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yes, you're definitely leaving it in good hands. You told me who you hired, and I'm very excited that they're taking on that role. So. Yeah. But thank you so much for being on my podcast, Rayden.
Oh, for sure. It was really fun. Thank you. And it's been great chatting with you more lately. And yeah, definitely keep in touch.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced, and hosted by me, Shelley Danko Day. Copy editing by Carolyn Ristow, details review. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul Labrise and Friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram or on our website, withbowlandspoon.com. Thanks for listening.